All right, a jury is now ready to hear the bizarre case of the accused doomsday cult leader who's charged with killing his ex-wife and 2 stepchildren. Chad Daybell's triple murder trial in Idaho moves forward with opening statements on Wednesday. Jury selection wrapped today. Prosecutors say the so-called doomsday prophet conspired with his wife, Lori Vallow, to kill Tammy Daybell and Lori's 2 children, JJ and Tylee. The couple allegedly believed the kids had become zombies and they were possessed by evil spirits. Police found their bodies buried in Chad Daybell's backyard. JJ was bound with duct tape and wrapped in plastic. Tylee was badly burned and dismembered. Daybell's trial is starting a year after Lori Vallow was convicted on similar charges. She is now serving life without parole. Joining us now is trial attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, you know this case so well. They had real trouble seating a jury, finding jurors who said they could be impartial.
Absolutely, because it's not going to be looking for people who have never heard of this case. That's truly impossible. This locally was obviously huge news.
And Lori, there were docuseries, documentaries on this.
Absolutely, no jurisdiction in the world. So there was difficulty seating a jury. Ultimately, they did get a jury seated today. There were 16 preemptory challenges, which means that those are the people they can get rid of. Then a lot of other people for cause, meaning that there were people who came out and said, we believe Chad Daybell is guilty. They automatically get removed. Now the jury has been seated.
All right, do we know anything about the breakdown of the jury yet?
So there's a gag order right now. So there hasn't been a lot of information released about the specifics or the breakdown of the jury. We might learn that as the week goes on. But as of now, we just know that they're finally at the moment to begin trial on Wednesday.
Okay. Do we think that Chad Daybell's lawyers might try and work on some sort of a plea deal? Do we think he's going to try, will his strategy be to blame Lori and say it's all her fault? I mean, she's already been convicted for these crimes. What do you think his strategy is going to be?
So a plea deal is always a possibility, but I think at this point we're at the eve of trial.
In order to spare himself the death penalty.
Of course, and that would be the whole caveat, right? That right now we have a death penalty case, the most severe punishment in the law. And so would there be a plea deal to serve life in prison? Well, that hasn't even been something that we've heard about in the media. So presumably we're going to be moving forward with this trial. But to your point, Elizabeth, you have somebody who was convicted of the murder of JJ and Tylee, convicted of conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy Daybell. And so there's, of course, going to be a shift of accountability and focusing on there is someone who has been held accountable by a jury for these crimes. And also, like we've seen in pretrial motions, pointing to statements made by the prosecutor in Lori Vallow's case to say, look, there's someone here who is responsible for these deaths.
Yeah, okay, so Tammy Daybell was married to Chad Daybell when she was murdered. She was strangled. At first, everybody said she died in her sleep. It was only after they exhumed her body and examined it that they figured out she died of asphyxiation. 2 weeks after she died in her sleep by normal circumstances, but later determined to be strangulation, he's on the beach in Hawaii with his new wife, Lori, dancing and taking videos of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, that was a large part of Lori Vallow's trial as well. And we know optically, just from a common sense perspective, what on earth could this be other than something nefarious?
Right.
We're going to hear a lot more about Tammy Daybell's death here, because remember, he's actually charged with her murder, not just the conspiracy like we saw in Lori Vallow.
They're saying he strangled her.
Exactly. So interestingly enough, though, his children from that marriage have come out and said they don't believe he's guilty. And so we may hear from them on the stand about the circumstances surrounding their mother's death. And specifically what they've said, that they never asked for an autopsy. The family made that decision together. And that's a large part of the prosecution's case.
Could be very powerful testimony. Misty Marris, thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining